Hi, welcome to Nancy Jean's Garden, Candles Day 6, 9 red candles. And with us today is Ursula from the Ascension Playground. And if you haven't gone to her site, please do, because her site is absolutely marvelous and wonderful. But as you know, we're here to light the candles first, and then Ursula has all the time in the world, or as long as you can sit there, to hear about what's going on in the world. So we're going to cut to the candles, and if you've been here before, I'm sorry if this sounds repetitive, but some poor person may just have wandered in today. So in the center, I have the sunstone. That's to fill your heart with positive energy and good luck. Then I have orange calcite here that balances and releases fear and anxiety. And the red tiger's eye is for passion, energy, and stimulation. And then the next little stone is this little teeny tiny light little piece of amber, and that's an ancestor stone. And the way petrified wood is an ancestor stone, because anything that was living once or part of a living system and is now calcified, made into stones, made that heart, that's an ancestor stone. Then we have red aventurine, this one, and that's aventurine is always a stone of action. It can be good luck. It can be lots of fun. It just depends on what the color is. But in the case of red aventurine, it's to take actions and to take part. And then red jasper is balance and endurance stone, and that's the stone of the magicians and the shamans. And the last stone in my sort of solstice sunrise set of colors is carnelian. And it is it's a stone for it can be everything from orange to dark red. This is more towards the orange, but it's for power of confidence and grounding. And if you ever get a hold of a really good piece of carnelian, you can just feel it just bring your body back right into your heart. So with that, what the goal of us having these 9 candles before the solstice is to focus on gratitude and letting go, because we've gone through 2 incredibly strong eclipses recently that were all about letting go. And the summer solstice is really a time to say, I'm grateful for my life that's here. And then what do I want to surrender? What do I want to let go of? Because this is a time for me to grow, just like the crops are beginning to really grow. This is a time for me to really grow. So before, I'm going to do 6 deep breaths for us to contemplate the things you're most grateful for, and maybe the thought, word, idea, person you need to let go of. So we're going to start with 1 deep breath. Pull it in. Exhale 1. Pull it in. Exhale 2. Breathe in. Exhale 3. Breathe in. Exhale 4. Breathe in. Exhale 5. Breathe in. Exhale 6. And now I'm going to light the candles. Three, 4, 5, 6, and there are 6 candles. And with the lighting of each of these candles, we're going to think on this meditation. We are lighting these candles to acknowledge our gratitude for this day, for the growing light, and for me, it's having lovely friends that want to come and share this time with me. We also want to surrender this idea, thought, word, deed in this era of change. We are letting go of what we no longer need. And I no longer need people to have certain patterns. I thought it's always going to be that way. Well, 73, things keep changing. We welcome the coming of the new light. We will use the upgraded photonic energy to grow and expand our consciousness. May our energies be utilized to the greatest good of all. And now, go back to Ursula, who never really disappeared, but
Welcome back.
yeah, welcome back. So, and I hope Ursula and I were just discussing this. We both have had kind of a morning where kind of everything that could go wrong did go wrong, including my little waist-high garden that decided to pitch into the alley this morning. So it's one of those things. Oh, I thought I had that all settled. Well, it's not. So I'm letting go of expecting to walk out and find everything perfect every day. I'm just want it to be a better day than yesterday. So what are you up to, lady? Tell us about the Ascension Playground.
Yeah, and I also just want to shout out, thank you so much for considering myself and the Ascension Playground as one of your friends. Yeah, I mean, that touches my heart. And, you know, we wouldn't have had the playground even as a concept had you and Andrea and Danny not said yes to step forward and almost create this, this vibrating, I don't know, vessel that some of us really heard and are feeling. And we're like the second or third wave and just want to loop back and say, wow, so many good things can be born when we step into that which we love doing. So thank you. Thank you for the shout out. And, you know, red and number 6. I mean, it's kind of fun to be the number 6 candle.
It is.
But I wanted to say, when we think about the beautiful crystals that you bring, I could look at your crystals all day long, Nancy, and the number of red stones that you've called out, I'm just going to say, wow, and how the stones connect with the stars. Just going to make that beeline, right? So the red stones, and as you know, I've been studying galactic astrology with Julia Balaz, and my goodness, we're starting to look up off the planet and out into the galaxy a little more. And on the solstice of June 21st, 2022, you may already know, but our alignment is going to be with the constellation Orion. And in the Orion constellation, there's one beautiful star that's going to be connecting with your red stones. And that is the fixed star, Betelgeuse. You remember that movie, Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. So it's a red star connecting with your red candles and the red stones. And I love the whole concept of from stones to stars, how there really is this incredible connection and matrix, kind of like the drawing behind me. It's like we think we're separate. A lot of times our ego tells us in the polarity of the 3-dimensional earth zone. But in truth, when we meditate, like you just brought us into with the breaths, you can kind of like, okay, open up to this matrix of more than what I think I am and how I show up. So that's just what first pops out is this idea of red. And, you know, I think I shared with you, I pulled from the secret language of color cards, the red card, and its message for us, Nancy, is free yourself from pain. I'm gonna put that one, you know, whether I am the pain giver or the pain receiver. It's like, okay, the red, the root chakra, the tribe. Just gonna offer that into the beautiful candle circle.
Yeah, well, when I read people and I kind of look at where their chakra blocks might be, it's usually first one's the heart, because when we get hurt badly enough, or even just to defend ourselves, we block our heart so that energy doesn't go out and get squished. And then the next chakra that people have a lot of trouble with is the throat chakra, saying what I know, being who I am, expressing, communicating. Then the third chakra that I find most people have blocked is the root. They're really afraid to go back to the base of who they are and to let the energy flow up from there, because the top-down energy is all kind of very spiritual, from your crown through your third eye to your throat. Then the heart's right in the middle. And if the heart's blocked, that's why people have a lot of problems, because it's not going up or down when that's going on. But then when you're coming up from the root, which people usually choose to start meditations from the top down or the bottom up. And I've done them both ways and they both work. But people's root chakra, the red, being blocked, not acknowledging it, that's anger. That's all that stuff you're talking. Nice ladies don't say those things. That's why nice ladies don't live to be old. They don't get it out. But I've actually had one person said, well, I'm just not sure I can do that because I think if that red starts rising through my system, it's going to explode like a volcano. And I'm like, no, it'll go through creativity in the sacral chakra and then hit your solar plexus, where your solar plexus, if it can get past the heart, can get all these great ideas together, moving power, generating it. Then it goes through your heart and it gets the wisdom and the softening of your heart. And then you have to express it.
Wow. Well, I'm the proud owner of one of your heart chakra eggs and throat chakra eggs. And when I activated them, oh my gosh, I felt like someone had just like taken a club to my chest, and I'd forgotten that I had activated your egg. And then later I was like, oh yeah, there's some clearing that still needs to happen here. But going back to the root and the color red, my goodness, you know, when you think about our connection to Mother Earth, you know, forget about like ancestral DNA, tribal stuff for just a moment. You know, below the root chakra, we know there's like an earth star that's connecting us. And so when we continually just chop ourselves off from grounding with Mother Earth, or thinking that we're all that and putting ourselves in boxes and rubber shoes and everything, lose that connection. Yeah, I think there's a predominance perhaps of why we have so much root chakra issues with cancer in that area of the root. You know, prostate cancer, or women, you know, so it's like holding stuff so tight and in, and not allowing for that blood or that life energy. And I'm only saying that as a reminder to myself. It's like, oh my God, because sometimes I get so in here, Nancy, you know, like I love thinking and analyzing, but it's harder to like, okay, connect with the root and allow that, like you were talking about, that Kundalini kind of energy of opening the chakras. You can't get open if your root's kind of all blocked off. So yeah, so red, let's release from the pain. And I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Betelgeuse, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So what's coming up for me is this idea that the red stones and the red star of Betelgeuse. Many people may know that the reason this star is red in Orion is because this star is close to dying. And so there's a life cycle to be honored. And I think in America, the last thing we want to talk about is death, right? But hey, what have we been talking about the last couple of years is this idea of transformation. So Betelgeuse is kind of reminding us, yes, you're beautiful, you're red, you're connecting to the candles, but there's this position of transformation that's kind of being beckoned forward. And then there's one more layer that I want to bring in astrally, and that is the planet Mars. He's the red planet. So we got a red star, Betelgeuse, and a red planet. And right now, Mars is sitting in his happy home, right? He loves where he's sitting in Aries. So he and the other two personal planets, Venus and Mercury, they're all in their home, you know, their happy home signs. So there's something very personally happening in the solstice, you know, about you specifically. If you tune into what is it that I really, like you're saying, release, and what do I want to dream and bring in? But we have to first get lighter and release the stuff that's not working and be honest about it.
Yeah, well, last year I did a show on 8/8 Lionsgate, which is the 8th day of August. And I was talking with another person who does what we do, and he and I were talking, and we were both talking about how time seemed to be passing much more quickly. And he thought it was because in part we were lightening our loads. So it's easier to move faster if you're spending all your time looking back and trying to justify and trying to hold on to something that's back there you don't need anymore, then it's very difficult. But if you let those packs down, drop that luggage, just move forward, you can go ahead and move much more quickly. And And you're actually moving as a different person. Because if you're not holding on to all of that shoulda, coulda, woulda, you're going to be able to move and move into the new people that you are. And I mentioned in the meditation about the photonic energy. That's not a joke. We actually, and we actually have moved into a new place in space. I mean, not just like you and I, but I mean, like the whole solar system,
galaxy.
Yeah. And we are no longer protected from a lot of subatomic particles that they were speculated about, I think, in the 40s or 50s. And then they thought they were coming in from outer space, but they were having so much trouble finding them. They had to create these labs inside mountains. I remember watching this in the 60s or 70s on 60 Minutes about what they go through to find these little particles. Well, now the sort of cloud that was in the universe that sort of shielded us from it, it's gone. So now all of that stuff's flooding in, and scientists always expected it would, because every 12,000 years in the rocks, in the things I deal with, in crystals and stones, they would find this marcation, this line where there's this extra input of energy, and it was 12,000 years, 24,000 years, 36,000 years, 48,000. If you know how to multiply, you can figure the rest of it out. And all those thousands of years ago, and they were wondering what's going to happen while we're in it. And we started shifting in 2017, and 2018 was another year with a big shift. By 2019, we were clearly into this, and we started getting first waves. And I do a lot of study of Earth energy and intergalactic energy that's coming towards us. Apparently, in early 2020, we had 2 giant waves of energy that hit our planet, almost like a big sea wave, came through and just dumped a bunch of energy on it. Well, all that's photonic energy. And that's why the sun's gone nuts. If you track solar explosions, it triggers it off in everything. So it triggers it off in us. It triggers it off in our planet.
Yeah.
And I mean, I figure anything that can leave a mark in rocks, we're a lot softer than rocks, and they don't stay on you, they just pass through you, but that surge of energy. So we have this photonic energy, and they think it's in some cases they're monitoring it now because they're actually thinking it's shifting some of our DNA. And so it may be, we have a lot of stuff in our DNA. They used to call it junk DNA, but it's not junk, it's just not activated. And that's coming in. So we're in for a ride. It's better to kind of know that and accept it, and then say, okay, maybe I am seeing the world a little differently, because sometimes little bitty parts of myself, it's getting
right. And I love, we reading from the same playbook in some ways. If we take the holistic view 1,000 feet away, we are on an evolutionary journey. It's not like this is happening to us. On a soul level, when we look at quantum soul guidance, we signed up for this before we incarnated. And yes, our bodies are primarily carbon-based, but there's this beautiful narrative about us moving into being light beings in this new age of light. And you just set out the markers. And so as we start becoming lighter, and literally lighter as our DNA becomes activated, we're going to be able to attune more into, again, the matrices of information and beings, and, really seeing more multidimensionally. So again, from an evolutionary perspective, we signed up for it. We are in an ascension process. It's like telling the caterpillar that wants to go back to being on the leaf, sorry, it's time. You're in that goo stage of the chrysalis, but guess what? You move through it, and there's some beautiful, flight potential as you breathe through it. And so that's why, again, the candles and the breathing. But I want to ask you, because we both love Pam Gregory and Rory Duff and the science meeting spirituality. You mentioned to me yesterday about the earth ringing like a bell.
Oh, okay.
Segue to
this
that.
This is one of the suppositions that Rory has put out for us. It's that the subatomic particles going through our hard core at the inner part of the earth, it's going through there, and it's building up energy as it goes through. It's kind of like a generator, it's building it up. And that his predictions and what he's read from the Native American tales and the different things, that in December of 2024 or thereabouts, the energy is going to build up so strongly in the core that it's going to ring like a bell. It's going to go wah, 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 and reverberate out through the earth. And that's why there's another person I do things with, Johan van Wyk. He's in South Africa. And I'm going to start up doing things with him again next month. He is there repairing ley lines, because the ley lines were laid on the earth when we were Pangea, when we were one continent. And now when like Africa broke off and Australia went and India went into Asia and all that stuff, that broke some of the ley lines. It disconnected them. So he actually goes out and spiritually works with guides and angels to reconnect ley lines. And the thing is, we have to have enough of them all put together. And then we have our big chakra lines, like Mount Shasta is the root. We have to have those chakras all. And I know someone who's up there working in Mount Shasta as a guardian. And they're trying to get the earth's energy so we're as strong as possible. So when that tone rings out, the earth can handle it.
Yeah. And then like, as with the earth lines, we have our own human meridian lines, these invisible energy lines. So going back to the candles, you're right. It's just time to pause and open those energy lines, because there's a beautiful narrative that I like, Nancy, and see how you like this. You know, William Henry writes about this idea of being homo luminous, moving from homo sapien, carbon-based, to homo luminous. It's this idea of the angelic. And so it's not even gender-based, right? It's not even singular-based. It's collective, and it's neither male or female, but it's asking us to kind of, as we ascend, this idea of more light. We start identifying differently. We start talking differently. We start seeing differently. So these sense organs start tuning into more multi-dimensional ways of interaction and being. So don't be surprised if your dreams get more vivid, if you start seeing things out of the periphery of your vision, because whatever has always been there starts showing up. It's just you coming online. And it's to your point, Nancy, of the ley lines and the earth lines, the human meridian lines. Now there's these galactic lines that are also, so that Betelgeuse to your stones. These are kind of like, this will be soon how we start talking and identifying.
It's when you start looking at it, it's an overwhelming amount of knowledge unless you take it a little piece at a time.
Well, with you, you're like the fire hose of like, I just like to sit around and hear where you're going to go next, because you sure do have a font of study, and it's science and spirituality, and it's real life.
Well, my second husband was a physicist, and when we started dating, people were like, you're a hard-based scientist. He has the pioneer patent with another guy on the epoxy that allowed microchips to go into space. I mean, he wasn't just a run-of-the-mill, I'm a physicist. He did stuff. Wow. And people were like, you can't hang around with her. She reads cards. And he said, look, before we understood electricity, lightning was sent by the gods, Thor or Jupiter or whatever they choose to call it. It came from the skies. We had no control over it. And he said, the second we understood electricity, we didn't need Thor. We didn't need Jupiter. We didn't need a lot of other it was part of our natural world. He said, we just don't know the mechanism she uses. But he said, I've watched her, and something changes around her, and something changes around the people she's working with. And he said, not in a bad way. And he said, and so I met him when he was just turning 50. And he spent until he was 70. He died when he was 72, trying to figure out where it was. And he kept saying, it's in quantum mechanics. It's in quantum physics. You're going to find it. And of course, he mentioned the bad word for me, physics, the one course I dropped because I knew I was going to fail it. I don't do that kind of physics. I don't care I'm not going to build a bridge, so I don't care if the pylons will support the stupid truck that's on the bridge, really. It's just nothing I could project my mind to do. But he made me sit through enough PBS specials on the developments around quantum physics that I can follow the guys that are now bringing it into our world and are connecting the two. And I was just always lucky. The universe made sure I had at least the vocabulary. As long as you can sort of know the words. It's probably the only language I know is English. It's because I have too many of those words. But
Wow.
but
Well,
anyway, I appreciate that you're bringing in the idea of the color red, and red is an empowering color. I've talked to a couple of other people, and they said we're doing red this time because that's the Chinese ceremony was originally to create money. People would light the candles for 9 days in a row, wanting a specific. It's like a manifestation intention, and then I started expanding it. It works for other stuff, and for us, it's working for understanding gratitude and pulling more of what you're grateful for today, you will find more of tomorrow. That's how it works. And letting go of the things we don't need, because now's a powerful time to do it, and generating a little energy off the candles to do that.
wow. Well, I love how you're so earth-based, and there's one more galactic message that wants to come in, if you don't mind.
No, I don't know.
Back to Beetle. The Europeans say Betelgeuse, but we always go with the movie Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. There is something called the Galactic Federation of Worlds. This is support. If people say, oh, call in your team or call in the council. So during your 9-candle celebration, for anyone who wants to move towards the galactic, you can call in not just your higher self, not just your ancestry and your angels and teams, but there's something called a Galactic Federation of Worlds, and it's beyond our world. So there is support, there's help. If you have pain to release or have trouble finding, well, what is it that I need to do to be lighter? You can ask for guidance, and it's going to show up synchronistically if you stay attuned through your heart, not the fear. So nothing's happening to you. It's just you have choice points to make. Do I choose love and support, or do I just go find a corner and wait for this whole thing to just blow over? So that's
right. And we've seen the universe splitting into those two directions. I'm going to go hide in my little corner, and I'm going to play da 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 da. That never really happened. And then there's people who open up their eyes and their ears, and they go, it did, and it doesn't need to be repeated. Because until you get the lesson, you get repeated. Yeah. It just keeps showing up.
And whatever you choose to do, seriously, the ostrich, there's a place for that. But if that doesn't serve you any longer, try looking instead of down, look up. It's, for me, it's just been like, it takes me a lot longer to get the message. Like, you have help. You don't have to try and carry it all by yourself. And just knowing that with the Galactic Federation and Betelgeuse on the solstice with the color red, you could even wear red, right, Nancy, to help bring in that energy.
Yep. Well, what else is coming up on the playground? You got anything fun?
Oh, lots of fun. Astrologers, Starseed Galactic. We had an artist come and share her beautiful work. I'm starting to start talking about my own painting, because a lot of people wonder, when are you going to start talking about your own work? And it's coming. I got blown away what Pam Gregory said about this idea, how some of the tea leaves coming together for her were bringing in sacred geometry with frequency, and that our natal birth charts are sitting right here at the heart chakra. So we each have this like beautiful mechanism. And I think that's what I've been painting these last 5-6 years, Nancy, is this idea of not mandalas, just as this common, circle with the dot, but it's this idea of heart navigational support systems. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I'm starting to learn how to, not be afraid and start talking about it. And I think the playground, I just tell myself, just be a kid again, would you? I know I can get a little syrupy, but I have to trick myself because I'm uber serious. Like, if you knew me at home, I'm studying, I'm referencing. But when I come on the playground, I say, okay, bring out Ursi. And I know you don't want to call me Ursi, but it's what my dad would call me. And I was like, oh God, how do I embrace that child in me? And so.
Well, and it's really important in doing the creative things. It's like, when I look back now at the number of grids I've made, and I look at them and I'm going, who made that? I mean, it's as if other things were guiding my hands to get those made and to help direct people and to get the energy to them that they needed. I didn't do that. When you say I, you're talking out of ego, and it's you have to kind of abandon that sense of self in order to move forward and take things with more grace and to share more fully. And I think that's what art does, is you really share who you are. If you're not, even if you're trying to imitate what another artist does, because I do watercolor and I take little watercolor classes, and because they are much more skilled at the brush strokes and stuff, because they've spent years studying it and I haven't. But I sit there and I kind of follow along, and then mine always looks different because mine comes from my guides and my messages and the energy that I carry through my body. And it's time for us to start finding our tribes. And if you weren't born in your tribe, then go find the tribe you were sent here to be with. The other thing Pam Gregory said, I think that's brilliant about your astrology chart, is consider it like a piece of music. And do you tune into the right notes? Do you pull the right notes in at the right time? Do you see it as a harmonic? Or do you like dissonant music, like that horrible music they used to make in the 30s? It sounded like the orchestra ran into each other all over the stage. And I don't like that kind of music. And if you like that kind of music, then that's your tribe. Go there. But I think that's why I like astrology, even though I know I have friends, when I mention it, I start mentioning angles or anything in their heads.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not with this. But there's just a lot of signs and symbols and a lot of ability that we have in our lives to connect. And the candles are one way to do it, and to have a group of people that are all, just the number of people that are going to watch this and see this and work with it, you'll start to feel it. If you I've been getting emails for the last couple of days. When I've got my 9 candles ready to go. This started on Sunday night, the 12th of June. If you don't catch it the first day, you can go back, and I've had people do this. They go back and they start first day, second day, and trust me, guys, there's no rhyme or reason to who shows up on what day. I just call people and say, you want to be on? And when they let me on, when they say they want to be on, I schedule them in. And one time I tried to do these all live. And I had, and I'd have people drop the last minute. My sheet on when people were and what day they were, it was insane. But we all got all 9 of them out there, and people seem to think it looks flawless. Oh, God. But what happens now is I put a call out to quite a few readers, and it's first come, first serve. Who wants to be on, and knowing kind of what the message is supposed to be. I come up with the initial core message, the meditation, and then everybody else, it's their thing after that.
Wow, and I love that. And you're just bringing up one last thought, this idea of the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. The equal and opposite is the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. For those who don't know the word solstice in Latin, which I know you studied, sol is sun and sistere is to stand still. So on June 21st, 2022 in the north, we can just have this beautiful narrative. When the sun stands still, have you started building the light? And so these 9 candles, it's increasing the light, and it's an outward metaphor for what you can do inwardly. And I'm telling myself that it's like, Ursula, continue to just let go, be aware. Oh, do I really need to carry that repetitive thought every day? The irritation thought, like, oh, this again. Or so I'm just trying to stay uber aware, and instead just work on building the light as we move towards the longest day of the year, the June solstice.
Yep. And with that, I think we're going to go back to the candles and get rid of the light for a little bit, put them to bed. Now, I do this. I used to never do this, but I do this now because there were people who would leave their candles burning, and then by the 9th day, they had 2 candles. So we're not shutting down the light. We're just acknowledging a time of rest.
Yeah, because in quantum, they're still lit, right, Nancy? We'll just say in an alternate universe, the candles are still burning.
On the 9th day, I will leave them burning because this time I've got them on a pizza stone. I promise I won't set my desk on fire like I did last time. But I'll leave them burning until they're all burned down because by that time, all the energy we've built up in these candles, as long as the flame's shooting up, the energy's entering the world.
It's so beautiful.
So with that, I say goodbye. Bye, Ursula.
Bye, Nancy. Thank you so much. Happy solstice.
Happy solstice to everyone.